Well, hello everybody and welcome back to another midweek edit, and this one potentially is going to be a little bit tricky this week, depending on how far, of course, I decide to take it. It's an image that literally took this morning, so it's hot off the press, and it's the second one that I've edited in the film. The first one, more of a landscape picture and not really that exciting in terms of its editing potential, let's say. This one's possibly got a little bit more to it. I've had a little bit of a play and then decided straight away that this one will be a good one to do, so I've reset everything, all the values back to where they were, at least I think I have. I'll check that, and then we'll like I say, we'll get started from scratch and see where we end up with. But really like this image, it's got a lot of potential, but there are one or two little niggles that we just need to get over to make it what it needs to be. So let's get into Lightroom and get cracking. Right, so this is the image that I took. It's quite dark. It was a very, very dark morning, really dark in the woods at this time of the morning. And I think I alluded to that in the video. Perhaps I took that little bit out. I don't know, but yeah, once I walked into the woods, it was really dark under the canopy. It was only about 5 o'clock by the time I got into the woods. And this is a plant called Enchanters nightshade, a low-growing plant. And if you've not seen the video, I'll put a link. I'll put a link above, so you can check that video out. Right, let's get into it. So let's go to the develop module we're already in. The first thing, as always, that we really should do is the lens corrections. Let's see, that'll probably just straighten everything out. Yep, just a bit of distortion sorted there, and straight into the basics panel. As always, usual starting point, I'm going to hold the Alt key down, and I'm just going to move the blacks just so that they're where they need to be, looking at the histogram at the top there, and then same for the whites, just bring those down just so that we don't have that clip in there, and that has had a nice effect straight away of flattening the image off. You see there before it was that spot at the top right, really quite bright, and it's had the effect of just dulling that down a little bit, which is quite nice. Now, the problem we've got with this image is that I love the fern in this highlighted portion here, but there's a lot of competition between that highlight and the actual spike of the flower, so we need to sort that out. So first thing I want to do is just bring the exposure up to somewhere where I want it to be, which is probably going to be about there, I'd say. And then the first thing is to sort those highlights out, so I'm going to bring those down. Now, if you watch the film, you'll know that I had the white balance on the camera set to give it a more of a blue appearance, which is what I wanted. It was the cool blue, cool blue light of the morning that I want to try and replicate. And I realised that these are raw files and you can do that afterwards, but I like to see the finished article in camera when I'm there taking it. It's all part of my let's say artistic process, if you will, whereas I try to get exactly what I want as much as possible whilst I'm out there in the field. So that has had a nice effect of dulling down that bright spot, but I am just going to lift the whole thing up again and just boost the contrast, because it's had the effect of flattening off the image. Now then, I like what we've got there. But what I want to do is just have a look in the let's go into the tone curve first of all, and we'll just put the required little S curve in that seems to often benefit images, which is nice. It's added just a little bit too much contrast, so I am just going to reduce the contrast here in the basics panel of the overall scene. Just see what lifting the shadows does. I think lifting the shadows has a nice effect. Now, what I'm struggling with a little bit here is that the green is just a little bit too strong for my liking. First of all, I could try altering the tint, but I don't think I'm liking that effect. I'm not going to touch the colour temperature, so we'll go straight into the colour mixer and we'll go to the hue tab and just have a look at these greens and just play around with them. the yellow channel as well. That's not having much of an effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this little spot tool here, and I'm just going to hover over the green that I want it to have a look at, select it, and just change the slider ever so slightly. Moving it up seems to give me a little bit more along the lines of what I want. So we'll leave that there, and we'll do the same for these blues. And I'm going to take that back. I'm not as keen on that. I think about there, where we've just done the green hue shift and the yellow hue shift, can't say it. So we've got -4 on the green and a -1 on the yellow. I'm liking what I've got. There's still something niggling me just ever so slightly, and I think it's this bottom right hand corner. We've nothing going on down here. We've got a nice little bit of specular highlights here. I love the way all these are framing the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a linear gradient just over this portion down here, and I'm just going to take the exposure down. Now that straight away has stopped you looking down there to the right hand side, and I'm just going to warm that up ever so slightly, because it was just a little bit too blue down there, just to balance the overall scene. And that is definitely more like it. Let's just go to lights out. I'm just going to remove a little bit of that blue just to warm it up ever so slightly, just a fraction. So I've still got the blue in the highlights, but less so in the petals. I just felt that those were a little bit blue. So that is definitely more in keeping with what I'm looking for. I'm just playing around with the shadows, and I think we're there. And already I've got to the point where I feel like I'm fiddling, whereas I think that is as nice as it needs to be. You've got the flower spike on the left, just left of centre. You've got the fern coming in top right third, and this lovely bokeh of specular highlights in the background. Nice bit of interest in the bottom left, and just taken the detail and the brightness out of the bottom right hand portion just to bring you into the frame. Now I did think that that was going to be quite a lengthy process, but I got to where I needed to be pretty quickly. Let's just bob back in, because as I looked up, it's that typical thing, whereas if you go away for a few minutes and come back, you'll see something else. What happened as I looked back at the screen is that that specular highlight at the top right I felt was just a tad too bright. It's really strange how when you're staring at the screen and you're making the adjustments, you don't necessarily see everything you need to see straight away. So what I'm going to do, just get rid of that one. Not sure what I did with that there. Get rid of that. Oh, it is a radial gradient, yeah. And just draw that just over here. And just reduce the exposure ever so slightly. Lift the contrast, because you can see there's a halo developing around the edge. Make it a little bit bigger, and you don't see the spot quite as much. We'll just turn the eye on and off. I think that has worked nicely. It's not pulling you over to that top right quite as much as it was when it was there. I'm just going to lift it back a little bit, and that's it. I've definitely finished there. I'm more than happy with what I've got. So I shall put that on now. 10 minutes on the clock, not a bad editing time at all. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Put the image on now, and I will see you in the next one. So until then, bye for now.